Hello, and welcome back to Explaining Acro. I'm Ben, and this is Cassandra, and today we're going to be teaching you Turkish Get Ups. Most of the time in Acro, as bases, we're doing the same couple movement patterns over and over again, and the focus of the skill is on the flyer. With Turkish Get Ups, we get to be the star of the show. We get this really interesting challenge that tests our strength and stability and allows us to do something a little bit different.
As a flyer, Turkish Get-Ups are a test of endurance and focus for me. This is a skill where we're holding a shape in a tight position, attempting to not move, yet we have to be aware of where the ground is beneath us and make these subtle adjustments as the base is moving.
When learning the Turkish Get Up, it's a good idea to practice with a barbell, dumbbell, or kettlebell. I really like the barbell in particular because you need to stabilize laterally with your wrist, and this is going to better simulate the demands that we're going to have when we're doing this with a person. Now, when teaching this skill, I like to focus on the eccentric, which in this case would be the Turkish Get Down. The reason for that is that we tend to be stronger eccentrically than we are concentrically, and I find that it makes it easier to focus on technique and move slowly as we're learning the skill. To get started with the Turkish Get Down, we need to have our implement overhead. I like to, when working with a barbell, just kind of clean it with both hands and then jump my right hand towards the middle of the bar to the position where it's balanced. From here, if I have my right arm overhead, I'm going to focus on keeping my right leg in front during this lunge. So I'm going to step my left leg back. From this position, I'm going to reach to the side and allow my shoulder to slightly internally rotate while focusing on keeping it overhead. You can notice that the bar moves, and that's normal and completely acceptable here because my shoulder is also moving. Now I'm going to put weight into my right leg and my left hand in order to get my left leg through. From here, I can come to this straddle position. Now, in a performance context or in sports acro, often you'll only see bases go to this position and then stand back up, or only come down to this position. But to do the full skill, what I like to do is take my left hand and put it behind me and kind of slowly slide it to the ground. I'm focusing on keeping my core tight and not curling. From here, I'm going to use my right leg to slow myself down as I roll to my back. Now that we've practiced the Turkish Get Down, it's time to learn the Turkish Get Up. So here, we're going to start lying on our backs, holding our implement in whichever arm. Now, if I'm coming up on the right, the first thing that I want to do is bring my right leg up like this so that I can push through that leg. Now, my left arm, I want to have it out to the side and slightly in front of me. I'm going to think about pushing through this leg and really using this elbow as a pivot point in order to rotate on my side. I'm trying to keep my core stiff here and not really crunch. If we're relying on the crunch to get up, we're going to find that we're able to move a lot less weight, and we have potentially higher injury risk because of the weighted flexion that we're introducing into our spine. So I'm pushing through this leg, thinking about going to the side and getting on that elbow. From here, I'm going to push up onto the hand and keep that right foot planted. Now I'm using that hand and right foot in order to push up and get my leg through to my lunge position. From here, I'm thinking about externally rotating and keeping the bar overhead as I bring my torso to vertical. And now, as I stand up, I'm going to use both my front and my back leg to push myself to standing. Now that we understand the technique of the Turkish Get Up, I want to talk for a second about knowing our limits. So if we want to do a Turkish Get Up with a person, then we really want to be able to do a Turkish Get Up with a barbell or a dumbbell or a kettlebell that is about 75% of the flyer's body weight. So if I'm working with a 100-pound flyer, I should be able to do a Turkish Get Up with 75 pounds. Now, that is assuming that we're doing this in a side star where the flyer has their arm on the base's shoulder and they're taking some of the weight and helping to stabilize things. If you're doing it in the nugget position or in a croc or a mono shoulder stand or foot to hand or hand hands or something like that, you really should be able to do a Turkish Get Up with the flyer's full body weight. This is a more advanced skill, so we're not going to be showing spotting directly. However, we strongly recommend that you work with a spotter. Here, we should have the spotter being really close to the base of your shoulder. Again, really just focusing on keeping the flyer's head off of the ground. The two final considerations I have when doing a Turkish Get Up with a flyer is I might want to wrap my wrists with something. I'm using a child's boxing wrap here. I'll have an affiliate link if you want to use this exact one, but some normal athletic tape or really anything else should work as well. The other thing is that when I'm balancing really anything over my head, looking at it is going to help me balance. This applies with the dumbbell, barbell, kettlebell that we were doing before, but it takes extra importance with a human because there's a greater risk, and this is probably going to be on the heavier side.
Flyers, this side star position's a little different than our typical side star. For this skill, we're gonna put more weight into our hand on the shoulder by leaning over the base, and this is gonna help us stabilize as they move. Additionally, we want to focus on keeping this bottom leg up a little higher than our normal side star, while also lifting this top leg. And that's helping us keep the weight in the arm on the shoulder, and will keep us from hitting our foot at the bottom in the side star.
For the get down, I'm starting by looking at my hand, and again, I'm going to step my left leg back as I lunge. From here, I'm thinking about keeping my arm vertical as I reach to the side and allow my shoulder to rotate a bit. Pushing through that right leg and that left hand to get to my seated position if I want. Then putting that arm behind me, sliding to the side with a stiff torso, and then controlling my way to the back with that right leg.
In this skill, there's a lot of movement happening underneath us flyers. And especially when we get down to the ground, we tend to lose our contact with the shoulder. So this is where it's really vital to lift our legs, that top leg and that bottom leg, to help us pour weight into the arm as it continues to shift underneath us.
Now that we're starting to feel good about the get downs, we can start working on the get up with our partner. So bases, we're gonna start lying on our back, and we're gonna come into bird on hands, and then transition to that side star. From here, I'm bringing that right leg up, left arm down, pushing through that elbow and that foot in order to get onto my side. Then I'm going to push onto the hand. From here, I'm planting that right foot and left hand in order to get the flyer on top of me, standing up with both legs. The other position that I want to touch on is what we call the ball or the nugget position. This position is great if the flyer is a little bit newer, or if you're doing this as a party trick with like a niece or a nephew or something like that. It's important to emphasize that if you're doing this as a base, you need to be able to do a Turkish Get Up with your flyer's body weight, and you need to be really confident that you can either keep them safe or you're working with a spotter that can keep them safe, because the flyer is very vulnerable here. So to get started, I'm going to put my arm kind of across the flyer's waist. The flyer's going to start to squat down, and I'm going to grab their armpit. They're going to reach behind their legs and their hamstrings, and they're going to compress really strongly. From here, I have my other arm on their opposite shoulder, and I'm going to roll them onto my chest and overhead. From here, we can do the Turkish Get Up as before. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it if you could get down with the like button and leave a comment to let us know how the skill went for you. We release new videos every week. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you never miss an upload. See you next time.